Hello and welcome everybody. In an industry loaded with fake and adulterated essential oils, it's those essential oils that are altered that are causing so much confusion on the market today. Our goal in this video series is to show people that there are safe and effective essential oils to work with, especially in a pet home. That's what our focus is going to be. And we all know social media is creating a buzz in this industry right now. So we want to address some of these issues. So hang with us through our series and we hopefully will address them for you. But the number one priority when you're working with essential oils in a pet home is purity and quality. And if you want positive results, those are musts. There's no negotiation. But we also want to make sure it's very clear that we are not able to diagnose, cure, or treat any diseases because essential oils fall in the cosmetic industry. So we have to follow FDA compliance. So today, we're just going to do a quick introduction. My name is Heather Henderson, and I am here with Dr. Susan Albright, and we're going to walk you through this series. I got started back in 2010. I got started specifically for my pets. I did not look for this for me for any other reason except for my furry friends. I had at that time, I think 5 animals living in my home. Now we're up to 7. But in the end, they're all good, right? So I was a mobile dog groomer. So I had a business and I didn't really know that I was doing some things to myself through fragrances and toxic chemicals and stuff like that. When I discovered Young Living, it was more input to that journey of living toxin-free, and it was so important in my business. And slowly I worked myself into retiring myself from that business. I'd say about 95%. I still do a little bit on the side, but I fully exclusively work with essential oils. I work with non-pet owners too, but I love helping pet owners the most because that's where my heart and my passion is. And that's how I discovered Dr. Albright. I'm in New York. She's in Illinois. It's not like I can just drive to her clinic, even though I guess I could. It would take me a little while, but you know, it's one of those things like I was looking for a vet that had experience using different modalities because we were already experienced in chiropractic and herbs. My old vet used to call it herbs and spices. That was my name on the chart. Herbs and spices is coming in. Acupuncture, chiropractic, all that kind of thing. And essential oils just added to our, our tackle box. And that was what we were looking for. So it's been a 20-year journey for me. So this is kind of like the icing on the cake and has simplified our experience. We have 3 dogs, 3 cats, and a guinea pig. We use citrus oils. We do all that stuff. And we are a very healthy home. So I'm going to pass this over to Dr. Susan, and she can introduce herself. Oh, I forgot to add, I've taken all the coursework for CCA through ISHA, so that's the Certified Clinical Aromatherapist. I have done HTA Level 1 and countless other learning modalities, and behind those doors are tons and tons and tons of books that we use as resource guides. So we come from experience. So passing it off to Dr. Susan because she's got some pretty amazing info too.
Hi, Heather. Thanks for having me with you. I'm a veterinarian, and I graduated University of Illinois in 1985 and came to this practice here and stayed. So I ended up actually buying the practice. And so I've been here since 1985. And when I first started, it was all about hogs, dogs, and horses. And in the late 90s, some things changed in this central Illinois area, especially with the hog industry. And I started looking for something else. I had been doing all the traditional stuff, and there just were some things that I just wasn't getting results like what I wanted. I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. I mean, we could make things go away, but they would come back, and then there's the why, just trying to get to the root of the problem. So in the late 90s is when I started what I like to call this right turn and took this holistic journey. I walked through that door, and I started with chiropractic training And then I did some acupuncture training. I've been through the ABCA program. I've been through the Chi Institute for Acupuncture Mixed Practice program. And after that, it was in 2001, I was introduced to essential oils by a classmate from vet school. And I started with essential oils for some personal emotional issues. And she told me you need these oils. Here's where you put them. She started talking about chakras. I'm going, huh, what? And so she said, just put them there, use them. And so I did. I started to feel different, started to experience some things, and it really piqued my interest. And so then I started learning more and more about them. So also about that time, Chinese herbs and nutritional supplements. And I furthered my education in nutrition. Because when we look at all these things that we do, this is what I like about being a holistic practitioner now, is we look at everything. We look at the whole body. And, you know, from what goes in the food bowl to what is being used in the household. And essential oils have just become a huge, huge, huge part of my practice. When I first started learning about them, I was so intrigued, and all I wanted to know was, what do you do with this oil? What do you do with that oil? How are we doing this? What here? And it did finally dawn on me, you know, this is part of my scientific background, is learning the chemistry is very important. You don't have to be a chemist. You don't have to have a PhD in chemistry or botany or anything like that. But again, having some background is going to help you make some more informed and appropriate choices. I've taken the CARE classes, Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education. I've been through the ISHA, the same classes that Heather's been through, Institute for Spiritual Healing and Aromatherapy. I've been through all the levels of Healing Touch for Animals, where we also talk about and other ways to use the essential oils. So, and I've taken a lot of other coursework as well, books, like we can compare libraries. But again, and it's another thing, you do want to have some good resource material too when you start working with this. So that's a little bit of my background. Like I said, I was introduced in 2001 to the essential oils and started incorporating them in my practice in 2002. And now that's a huge, huge part of what we do here at the Chenoa Veterinary Clinic.
Yeah, and the fact that you're practicing and in practice for yourself and you're incorporating all this into the day-to-day, that's a huge factor when you're talking about, you know, trustworthiness of the essential oil brand that you're choosing to align with. You're using it every single day. And this is one of the things that's going around social media, is that, you know, these essential oils are going to be harmful to these animals that you're actually helping on a day-to-day basis. And I'd like to just put it out there that if there was a big problem with this, oh, here we go with the internet problem again. If there was a big problem with this, then I think there'd be some more red flags coming from the veterinary world that are actually trained in these modalities. So a lot of, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, because when you said that, and that's where you talk about it coming from the veterinary world, this is where I think a lot of the confusion also stems from is, and I think we talk about this in another segment here, is that there's a lot of veterinarians that are not trained in this type of modality. And I should have said this earlier, but when I first started with the essential oils, there were not a lot of veterinarians, at least in my neck of the woods. I was introduced by a fellow veterinarian. But back then, we were still just looking at the human information and transposing it with our veterinary knowledge and using it with the animals. And so in today's world, if there's a problem, and this is where I've been seeing it online, there's ASPCA articles, there's your different veterinary organization articles that are going, no, no, no. But my personal opinion is I don't feel that they are coming from a knowledge-based area. And I mean, when the animals unfortunately show up at the emergency clinics and they suspect there's some kind of toxicity involved, there's a lot of testing that is not done to definitively show that there's a problem. From the physiological standpoint of how animals, especially cats, are going to metabolize certain chemicals, products, drugs, whatever, we know that there's some differences, but I really have not seen any studies that actually show a named brand of oil with definitive blood work that says this one is a problem. We know, like as we said earlier, there's a lot of adulterated oils out there. And again, as a practitioner, if you are not familiar with something, I do feel that it's a knee-jerk reaction to say, hey, we don't know, don't do it. And that's not a bad thing, because if you don't know how something works, you don't know, as a practitioner, again, you don't know how to incorporate it with something that you do know works from your training. So that's kind of, erring on the side of caution, which again, that's another thing that I talk about, is if you don't know, don't do it. If you aren't sure about it, don't do it. So I just wanted to kind of interject that, because from a professional standpoint, having used the essential oils as long as I have, and looking at some of the people that I have worked with, because again, I'm going to go back for a second here. When I first started, there weren't a lot of other veterinarians to talk to about this, and I did learn from other non-veterinary people. So, all knowledge does not have to come from a medical professional. You take it, you listen, you learn, and then you take what works for you, start slow, and work up and observe what happens. And again, if you're not sure, don't do it. It's better to approach something cautiously and start from there. So it's always a journey, and the more you know, the better you can do. The more you know, the better things are going to happen. And it's just something to be aware of.
Yep, and that's exactly where I was going to go with it, and you say it way better than I could have, because a lot of vets out there, like I said, it's the knee-jerk reaction. Oh, I'm unfamiliar with that. That's something new in your home. That must be the reason, even though, like I like to say, everything has a tipping point, and a lot of times, that tipping point could just coincidentally show up with a term of distress, or something else happened in the home that, who knows, but because the diffuser was going, things get blamed on that. So, but I love the fact that, there are a lot of us who are self-educated. I am so lucky to align with a whole group of vets, local and throughout the country, that can ask questions. And my local vets that don't necessarily use the oils, they do know that what I am doing is not harming my animals. So, in that case, I'm very lucky, but I have made that pretty much my life mission the last 10, 12 years, to find vets I can align with and work well with and have a good relationship with. So, that's my deal. So I think we're just going to end this intro, and we're going to continue on our journey, and stay tuned for the next episode, and we will see you on the next side.